Obama administration breaking the law. Now, that is what 11 Republican attorneys general allege. They are blasting the president's Obamacare fixes and insisting the administration's illegal actions must stop. The AG is taking their case directly to HHS Secretary Kathleen Sebelius. Texas Attorney General and gubernatorial candidate Greg Abbott joins us. Good evening, sir.
Happy New Year to you, Greta.
Happy New Year to you. So, you and your 10 other attorneys generals, tell me, why do you say the president is breaking the law?
Well, Greta, this is the fiat presidency. The president is supposed to enforce the laws, not forbid the enforcement of law. And what we're seeing time after time after time over the past few months, the president has found the Obamacare law has put him and his political future in a corner. And to extricate himself from that, he just goes about trying to change the law. And repeatedly now over the past few months, the president has forbid the enforcement of the law or changed the law to suit his own ends, and he does so unconstitutionally. Only Congress can pass a law. The president does not have the power to make up the law and then judge its credibility acting as a court. We got away from that when we got away from Britain, Greta. Now we have the president acting like a king of the United States.
All right, where do you draw the line? Because clearly, I mean, the Congress legislates, they write the laws, and the president's supposed to execute it, but there's some level of discretion, because you see that even in plea bargaining. They can decide to drop one charge that's been violated for another. That's the executive branch. So where do you draw the line? How do you know the president has crossed that line to going beyond just executing the law and actually legislating?
Because the courts have been abundantly clear that the executive branch does not have the authority to writ large, just wholesale, completely eliminate the enforcement of a whole section of a particular statute. And that's exactly what the Obama administration has done, the president himself and Secretary Sebelius, with regard to saying, okay, well, this part of the Obamacare law we're going to put off for an entire year. Greta, that's an entire section of the Obamacare law. They're not doing it just for one person, Greta. They're doing it for everyone.
Here's the issue, General, as I see it, is that in order to, you got to figure out a way to get into court. And it seems to me that every judge, when something comes before, looks at a statute and looks at the clear language and looks to see whether or not you're right or you're wrong. And in this instance, the language of the statute, I must admit, is quite murky on terms of what should be done. So you look then to the legislative intent. And the legislative intent was that everybody pitch into the pot, pour money into the pot, and that would keep the cost down for everybody. Now the president comes in and takes some people out of to paying into the pot, and that's the challenge, is that completely changed the intent of the legislation. So now, how do you get that situation before a judge?
Well, and that raises the tough question, and that is standing. Do states have standing to challenge this? Do employers or individuals have standing to challenge this? We believe that what the president is doing is clearly unlawful. What we don't know is who has standing to challenge it.
Well, what are you waiting for? I mean, like, that's what I understand. I mean, members of Congress say that they don't have standing. So now we have the state attorney generals. Well, what are you waiting for?
Well, because we're taking first steps first. And the first thing is there's this open comment period where we're providing these comments to the United States Secretary of Health and Human Services, letting them know that what is going on is illegal and what they can do to correct it to ensure that legal action doesn't have to be required. So, Greta, what we're basically doing is we are exhausting our administrative procedures. And then after that, we will be determining what the appropriate course will be.
All right. Now, I take it that all the attorneys general who have signed on to this letter, HHS, all Republicans, right?
They are. And Greta, if you saw the date of that letter, it was December the 26th, of course, the day after Christmas. This is something that had to be put together on short notice. And I know there's going to be more attorneys general who agree with this, but simply didn't have time to join in.
All right. Well, I would expect that you might pick up other Republicans. Is there any indication at all that any sort of Democratic Attorney General who has a very specific job in the state is going to join with you so that you get out from underneath the shadow of it being simply looking like a political gesture?
Greta, I know that there are Democrats, whether they be attorneys general or members of Congress, who are against what the president is doing, but for political reasons they're unable to come out and say that. As you remember, it was the 26 Republican attorneys general who brought the lawsuit challenging Obamacare in the first place, and that was all in one party. The Democrats, even though some of them may have disagreed with the law, decided not to challenge it.
which is sort of interesting because the lawyers, the Attorney General, is supposed to enforce the law and not sort of be governed by political motives. So, you know, if there are those out there on either side of the aisle, it's too bad that politics would trump their job responsibilities if they believe that the law has been violated.
Well, that's the case. Of course, in this case, this is a rare situation, the first time I've seen it in the United States of America history, where a president is so violating the standards of what the law sets forth, such as with the employer mandate. Greta, this isn't deciding, okay, well, maybe this should apply to someone or not apply to someone. He writ large, he said, okay, the employer mandate's not going to apply this year. We've never seen a president do anything like that with any law in the past. It's time that we have a president who's going to obey the Constitution and enforce the laws, not make them up.
Well, I would simply like to see the third branch of government sort this out, and what's sort of intriguing is the fact that we can't get this dispute to the third branch of government to decide whether the president's right or wrong because of this, because of the peculiar nature of the fact that just can't get in the door.
Well, one way it could be solved, Greta, and that is the U.S. House of Representatives has already passed a provision that would solve a lot of this. If the president were to call Harry Reid and say, Harry, I want you to agree with the U.S. House of Representatives and pass the law that they passed, that would solve it tomorrow. But the president won't do that.
All right, Attorney General, nice to see you, sir. Thank you.
You too, Greta. Thank you.